The early to mid 2000s was a fascinating time for LEGO's color palette. As a result of near bankruptcy in 2004, LEGO completely overhauled their color palette. Light gray and dark gray became light bluish gray and dark bluish gray. Brown became reddish brown, and light nougat was added as LEGO wanted all licensed minifigs to feature real-life skin tones by the end of 2004. Shout out to Cloud City Lando and all the NBA players who were the first to make the big change in 2003. Blue Violet, now known as Royal Blue, was made for Knights Kingdom 2, and even very light gray became very light bluish gray. But while a total of 25 colors were axed between 2004 to 2005, a seemingly random color made its debut: copper. While there's technically 5 different LEGO copper colors, today we're going to focus on regular copper, which is one of LEGO's shortest lived and underused colors, and it ended up leaving a footprint that helped define the unexplainable feel of the mid-2000s, and believe it or not, copper broke some rules and still survives in LEGO sets to this day, just not how you think. So let's explore the complete array of copper parts LEGO produced, and maybe, just maybe, I'll convince you to love this long-lost LEGO color as much as I do. May the adventure begin. Good day to you. Now, from 2004 to 2008, copper appeared in 23 sets and was made in 11 pieces, or so most of us think. According to Bricklink, there are only 11 pieces made in copper. But your boy might have done some research and found some more, including one that might have inspired LEGO to make copper an official color in the first place. And before we get started, I want to thank my parents for making me this awesome shirt with the Red Knight Studios logo on it. I know not everyone has their parents' support while doing this kind of stuff, so I'm grateful. And you shall be seeing it in a lot more stuff. And without further ado, let's check out all the copper pieces. In 2004, the first 2 copper pieces came out exclusively in the UCS Y-Wing. In order to add wiring detail, 2 lengths of copper hoses covered the top of the model. The smallest hose was 6 studs wide, with 7 copies in the set, and the larger hose was 8 studs wide and came with 8 copies of the piece. Also, each of these hoses came with an extra. Next year in 2005, one more hose made its debut in the Viking Ship Challenges the Midgard Serpent set. Try saying that 5 times fast. This one is wider than both the previous hoses combined at a total of 20 studs wide. In the set, these copper wires added structure to the massive sail and helped prevent it from flapping back and forth on the sides. And even the big one came with an extra too. Earlier in the year, to coincide with the release of Revenge of the Sith, LEGO released Star Wars sets from the movie, ranging from the $10 Clone Skywalker to the $90 Clone Turbo Tank. Among these sets, the Wookiee Catamaran and the Clone Turbo Tank featured a copper part, and as a matter of fact, they both featured the same one, the round 2x2 dome. In these sets, this piece combined with a pearlite grade modified plate with vents, and the pearlite grade 1x1 cone on the top to represent the engines. It also appeared in 2007's legendary MTT set, which we'll return to in a bit. Next year in 2006, LEGO released 4 more copper parts, and out of those 4, 3 of them were then new parts that comprised the Exo-Force Iron Drone. Starting with the head and leg pieces, both of these parts are exclusive to the Exo-Force theme and only used for these copper iron drones, pearlite grade Devastators, and the big bad of the theme, Mecha 1. In copper, these pieces came in a total of 8 sets, again all Exo-Force, and you can buy the torso for 30 to 60 cents, while the legs can be bought for 20 to 80 cents. If you want to get a bunch of these pieces, on Bricklink, the Lonely Brick Ohio has 864 torsos and 740 legs available. Whoa. Now, let's talk about these arms. While this is a popular piece now in the 2020s, and you might recognize this piece in a set you've gotten recently, most people don't know it made its humble debut in Exo-Force. In its first year, this piece was featured in 3 colors across Exo-Force, and come August, it appeared in 8 more colors when Bionicle debuted its first multi-piece minifigures. I haven't been able to find any evidence on whether or not this piece was designed for Exo-Force or Bionicle first, but if I had to guess, I think the part was designed for Exo-Force first. Because after the backlash of the one-piece Bionicle minifigs of 2005, LEGO had to change course and quickly come up with a way to make multi-piece Bionicle minifigs. And this piece was the perfect solution for the arms. And now that I think about it some more, I think using this arm piece was a temporary solution because in the 2007 Bionicle minifigs, LEGO made a new arm just for those figs. So yeah, if I had to guess, I would bet that this arm piece was made for Exo-Force first. But alas, since this piece's introduction in 2006, it has made an appearance in a total of 742 sets in 23 colors and made a mold change for thicker support in 2013. In copper, it appeared in 9 sets, 8 of them Exo-Force, and 1 of them Star Wars' MTT I mentioned a bit ago, which again I promise we'll return to in a second. But if you want this piece in copper, you can usually find them for less than $1, but in any substantial quantity, the price rises quickly. The last copper piece of 2006 also holds the distinction for being the biggest of all the copper pieces, Karzon's shield. This thing is a beast. On the front, it doesn't really look like it's a copper piece because the black and pearlite gray printing covers most of the copper. but if you look on the back, you'll see it's definitely a copper piece. This guy was included in Knights Kingdom 2's buildable figure of Karzon. While I love these big buildable figures, a lot of people don't share my sentiment, so if you want to buy this awesome piece, it'll set you back only 50 cents to $1. Who else here wants to see a Knights Kingdom 2 return? Huh? Now, moving on to 2007, I've made you wait long enough, so let's talk about the MTT. Fun fact, this is the only non-Exo-Force set to have 3 copper pieces in it. 2 of them we've talked about before, the 2x2 round dome and the Exo-Force arm, but the 3rd copper piece is also the most expensive copper piece, the 2x2 curved slope. This guy will set you back an average of $18 to $19. And why is that, might you ask? Well, in the set, the MTT itself doesn't feature any copper pieces, but if you look at the minifigs, the Droideka steals all the copper pieces for itself. This guy features the copper 2x2 round dome on the bottom, 2 copper arms, and 2 of the copper 2x2 curved slopes on his head. As you can imagine, this Droideka is pretty expensive and sells at an average of $50 used and $60 new. While these copper pieces make for a unique Droideka, and even a unique Star Wars droid, this isn't the only droid made out of copper, because a month later, LEGO released the Jedi Starfighter with the hyperdrive booster ring. In the set, Obi-Wan's Starfighter features R4-G9's head on the wing, and upon opening the set, you'd find that this was all it came with. It would have been cool to get the body with all the copper highlights, but at least we got this cool looking copper piece. If you want to buy them, you'll find them for an average of $3, and if for some reason you want to get a bunch of them, Sir Timothy's on Bricklink has 10,428 of them available for $1.80 each. I crunched some numbers and it would cost $12,513.60 to buy all of them, and that's before shipping. Also, the Lonely Brick Ohio, who had all the Iron Drone torsos and legs, also has 555 R4G9 heads. I wonder how they all acquired this many. Who knows? Out of the 11 copper pieces officially recognized as copper on Bricklink, the last of them made its debut in Fantasy Era's legendary Dwarves Mine. In the set, both of the Troll Warriors have a copper scimitar, which is again a piece still around to this day that made his humble debut in copper and a mid-2000s LEGO original theme. To buy this guy, it'll cost an average of 40 to 60 cents, and just like before, the Lonely Brick Ohio somehow has 500 of them. This piece appeared in 7 sets in copper, all Fantasy Era sets, with 1 in 2007 and the rest in 2008. Speaking of 2008, this would be the last year a new set featured copper pieces, and by the end of 2009, the retirement of the previous year's Fantasy Era sets also led to the retirement of copper as a color, never to be seen again. Or so we thought. While Bricklink, which I found to be the most reliable and accurate source for LEGO research, only recognizes 11 pieces to be made in copper, I found a few more that include copper in the mold. Now, heading back to the Dwarves Mine, I want to redirect our focus to the big troll. While his arms and body are labeled as dark tan, they are technically dark tan dual molded with copper. If you look closely, the body piece is multiple pieces combined into one. First, there's tan legs with black print for the pants. Then there's the copper belt, which is a mold and not printed. Then there's the upper body with a lot of copper print, and believe it or not, the top 4 spikes area are not connected to the bottom one, and are a separate mold. And lastly, the Troll Giant's helmet is a copper mold too. While the copper molds could be one big copper mold, or the dark tan could be one big mold too, I don't want to break this guy to find out. I'd like to make a video about that one day on damaged pieces though, but alas, the body of this troll included 1 to 3 new molds that are technically copper. On the arms, the top part is of course dark tan, but if you look at the cuff, it's definitely copper plastic and it's not a print, so it's technically a copper mold, 1 for each side. This next one is the only one I don't have in hand, and the only one I'm not sure actually is copper. If you look on Bricklink, you'll find an entry for a Duplo car with copper spoked wheels. If you look at the 2 sets it came in, and upon closer look, the 4828 Princess Royal Stables looks like the wheels are pearl gold, like the pictures on the listing page, but if you look at the 4821 Princess Horse with carriage, they look kinda copper. On the listing page, there are 2 very blurry photos where the wheels look a bit more like copper, and in the only YouTube video I could find about the set, the wheels look a lot more like copper. Usually in my videos, I like to have all the pieces or figs I'm going to talk about in hand, but I can't find any copies of the set for sale, and as a matter of fact, I could only find one of any of the 6 sets in this Duplo subline for sale in the United States at all. The 4828 Princess Royal Stables I mentioned earlier, but since the box doesn't have a piece count, that leads me to believe that this person got the set overseas and brought it to the United States. While I can't find it set anywhere, I think the Princess subline of Duplo sets only released in Europe. I'd love to hear if you have any more information though. If I were to get the set and see if this piece was actually copper, it would cost me $98 to ship it over, and alas, your humble knight here does not have that kind of coin on hand. During the editing of this video, the second ever YouTube video of these sets just so happened to release, and in the video, you can pretty clearly see the wheels are copper. And now, for a plot twist. The final two pieces I found are technically the first copper pieces LEGO ever produced, preceding the 2004 hoses by 2 years, in Bionicle's Tannock. Back in 2002, Bionicle was firing on all cylinders, and if you were a Bionicle fan back then, you might remember the packaging was part of the play experience. With Tannock, the lid and clip were copper, and you could connect them together and then snap them onto Tannock to keep him in his maturation chamber. I really wish we could see this kind of fun packaging nowadays, but if you look closely at the parts themselves, they're not quite the same shade of copper as the rest of the pieces we covered today. But they are super close, which makes me theorize that maybe these two pieces were the inspiration for copper's introduction as a LEGO color. And if you look at the dates, they could potentially line up. Copper made its official debut in 2004, while the copper lid and clip came out with Tannock in 2002. From what I've read, oftentimes LEGO sets go through a 2-year development cycle. So maybe some of the people at LEGO saw the copper pieces from Tannock's packaging and decided to pitch it to the designer of the 2004 UCS Y-Wing at the beginning of the development process. I get the feeling some of you eagle-eyed Bionicle fans might mention the copper Bionicle masks made in 2001. I'm not including them here because they're technically Bionicle copper, and they're fairly darker than the copper we're talking about. But alas, I feel this Tannock theory isn't super strong though, and I think a more likely theory is that Exo-Force was getting pitched around 2002 to 2003, and they decided to officially create the copper color for the Iron Drone. So while Exo-Force was in development for a 2006 release, LEGO just decided to start releasing copper pieces in 2004. I doubt LEGO would introduce a color like this after axing a bunch of colors without having some sort of intent or plan for the color, because all the copper pieces, other than the Exo-Force ones, are random and mostly unrelated. But there's yet another theory, and this theory also highlights how copper broke one of LEGO's classic rules. Plot twist number 2. Copper had actually been around LEGO 6 years before officially debuting as a part color. Back in 1998, LEGO introduced copper into prints, most notably Hydronaut, Stingray, and Insectoid minifigs, as well as some tiles. This was an odd choice for LEGO because historically, they had a rule that they can't print a color if there isn't a part already being made in that color. By the time it became an official piece color in 2004, copper's introduction almost felt overdue because there was a 6-year gap, or technically 4-year gap as we discovered, between copper's introduction in prints and its introduction as a part color. So maybe LEGO made copper an official part color to align with the rest of the color palette. Throughout the 2000s, copper appeared in tons of prints, from the engines of 2002's Bounty Hunter Pursuit, to 2008's Chris Nolan's Batman torso, and even Little Robots parts. I might be American, but I do know about Little Robots. When LEGO stopped producing copper parts at the end of 2009, copper and prints just kinda stuck around. Gimli's 2012 helmet used copper, Blue Coat Bilbo used it, tons of Chima figs did, all the gold anniversary figs of the past 5 years used copper, and most recently in 2026, Chris Nolan's Batman still uses copper, and the Series 29 Monster Hunter has copper on her arms. Even though LEGO stopped producing copper parts at the end of 2009, copper doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and from what I could find, copper is the only color LEGO uses in prints and not in parts. While I'm glad it survives in prints, I would really love to see copper return as a proper part color one day. I feel slight marbling brings such a cool feel to the sets it's included in, and there's no current LEGO color quite like it. But I'd love to hear your opinions on copper. What sets did you have growing up with copper parts? I was lucky to have the MTT and the Storm Lasher back in the day. Also, what is your favorite copper part? I would love to hear about your experience with copper down below, and I plan on doing more of these long-lost LEGO color videos, so please tell me what color you'd like me to cover next. But I hope you have a great day. Oh, and remember, thou shalt build. Good day to you. Plot twist number 2. LEGO had actually been around LEGO 6 years before officially debuting as a part color.